Welcome back to So Bad It's Good. Now, our next guest, listen, if you listen to this show, you know our next guest because I talk about him incessantly because he is one of my best friends. Yeah, I know. But, he also has a job. He is a writer and an executive producer on the hit show American Dad. That is now, he's been working there for 10 years, but the Writers Guild of America has gone into a strike. They authorized a strike Monday night. And I need to find out what this is all about. This show not only covers reality shows, but all shows. And this is a very important moment for writers and being able to be paid fairly in today's entertainment landscape. So without further ado, Nic Wegener from the show American Dad, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I really wish I'd thought this through more. I look like I'm in like a storage unit. And by
the way,
how do you get that back? How do you have?
Obviously, you desperately need to get better wages. Obviously, it looks like.
yeah, this is my entire house. Me and my baby sleeping here. Yeah, thank you for having me, Ryan. I wish, I'm a big fan of the podcast. I wish it wasn't under these circumstances. These circumstances being that I'm a strike captain. They gave me this shirt and they asked me what size, but it fits like a 1995 XL. So it looks like I just got dropped off at camp and got the free shirt. I'm really kicking myself how I'm presented on your show.
Well, by the way, the majority of the people will actually listen to this in the podcast format, so don't worry about that. But listen, we're joking around right now, but this is very serious. This is in the terms of...
All right, yes, this is serious.
Wait, just to explain to the audience, the Writers Guild, I think the last time they striked was in 2007, I believe, and it lasted for almost 10 months that writers did not have a job due to the... who are you guys up against? Who is approving your contracts?
So the Writers Guild has a contract with the companies, the production companies, which, back in the day was like, NBC and Universal and Paramount, and still is a lot of those. But it's now there's big 6 companies, I think. So it's like Comcast is going to be at the table, and Universal, and now Amazon and Apple and people like that are also in the mix. And so every 3 years our contract is up, and basically we're having kind of a crisis in writing right now. And it's probably something that a lot of people can relate to across the United States, because it's these corporations that are trying to increase profits and give money for their boards and their shareholders, etc. So they're trying to the main thrust of the strike is they're trying to change writing, where it used to be a writer's room with 10 to 15 to 20 people working all year, punching jokes, coming up with stories, etc. Now they're pushing for a show to have, because it's streaming, 12 episodes, and they're going to hire 5-6 people to write it in 10 weeks. They hire them for 10 weeks, and they're come up with a bunch of ideas, and then 3 people stay and they write all the episodes. And then they turn them over, and then they're like, we'll go shoot them. There's no writing going on there. And that's that. And so these people that are writing in these rooms, they only work for 10 weeks. And then that weekly average over the year gets so low. If they don't get a second or a third show that they write in a year, then they're not qualifying for insurance. So we have no middle class now of writers, and people can't afford to live in Los Angeles. So they're having to move, further out and really hustle. And these people are on shows that then are on streaming and are huge hits. These writers that are huge hits aren't qualifying for insurance, and they're trying to keep these people at staff writer level for 10 years now. People stay at staff writer. So we ask for a bunch of things like, hey, you can only be a staff writer for so long, and then you have to get promoted. And if a show has 22 episodes, you need to have at least 8 writers or 10 writers. And the companies just didn't counter. They gave us no counter. They just said no. So
this most recent art, they because I read some of the proposals and what they countered with, but you're saying that they just really, in certain those, I'll post these. I posted on my Instagram, folks, but I'll post it again. So they just said, sorry, we're not going to even entertain what you're asking.
They're the industry has changed. It's a gig economy now. So we're gonna have
economy.
One of the big things, and this is a little bit different than that, but we put that they need to say that they can't use our shows to train AI to take our jobs. And they countered with no counter, but we will offer annual meetings about technology. They're like, you can meet with us once a year and we could talk about new technology, you know.
Talk about, hey, would you guys like the new Apple Watch? What do you guys think about that, writer? Like, no, by the way, I was reading the 2-page proposal, and the AI thing was the immediate thing that stuck out, because it was near the end of the second page. And what you said, you know, is like, yeah, they offered for like meetings. And I'm like, you know, by that time, AI is already so powerful, and it's also so soulless. You'll kind of see that already, but they're going to use, they could literally feed American Dad scripts, your writing, you know, your personal writing in there. They've done it with my, like Sean did it to my podcast just to show me how it works. And it's really, really frightening. But I just, this is like Napster.
I don't think it'll ever be as good as a human, and they're like shooting themselves in the foot. But it's like disheartening. Like, our show is a Disney product, and when I started as a PA, I delivered to the Disney lot when I was a PA on Criminal Minds 17 years ago, and I would have to deliver to the old animation building. And I look at the old cells they had up and pictures of the old you know, Imagineers and the way they like market their company. You know, we create dreams, and it's from people's minds, and then they're like, hey, no, yeah, I think we're gonna check this computer thing out, you know. And you're like, you know, like, we used to live next to these people in town, and the heads of the studios and everyone, and, you know, the gaffers and stuff everywhere, you know, in the Valley. And now the people that own these companies live in Silicon Valley, and they live in, you know, other places. And it's about, you know, just as big a profit as possible, cutting expenses on the employee side. So, yeah.
But when you're showing such insane profits, the fact that they won't share that with the creatives, I mean, you're right. They're cutting out middle class entirely, making that a thing of the past. You have benefited not only from, of course, your talent, but you, like you said, you started off as a PA. When you landed at American Dad, you were a staff writer. And over these 10 years, you have worked your way up. And you're saying that with these contracts, people like you, there's not going to be able to be people like you that start from the PA level anymore.
Yeah, I mean, we want to keep everyone staff writer, the lowest position, and the minimums. And, you know, the people that make the minimum now in the WGA has gone from like 25% to 50%. Like, over half the people now make what is the minimal allowable. So a big push of this is to raise those minimums to try to help that. And, you know, they offered, I think, like 30 cents on the dollar on that or something like that. And just to be clear, everything the writers are asking for would cost them 1% to 2% of their profits from last year. It's like not like the working, whatever. It's just the profits, you know. 1% to 2% other profits would give us everything we're asking for. And we know we're not going to get everything we're asking for. It just isn't going to happen. But 1% to 2% of profits. And like, the guild isn't even like going on the record really saying that, because they're like, they could say yes to us and they would still find those profits somewhere else. Like, they wouldn't even, like, it's just about policy of, like, you know, trying to make the most.
Now, you guys voted with an overwhelming majority. I think it was like a 99.2 authorization rate.
Yeah, it was like a big turnout too, not just percentage. It was like 7,000 writers and 99.2%. And a lot of that has to do with like younger writers that are really feeling this push, and they're the most vocal, and they're like, you know, out there. I mean, like I make, you know, a good living, and I've been there for a long time. I mean, not to do my story, but I do know that when I started, the person that had my job made 50% more than I make now, you know, at that time. Like, I make way less than, you know, and our show is watched by just as many people or more, but it's because now I work on cable and streaming, and back then it was on Fox. But
is it disheartening though? I mean, listen, we both grew up as fans of writers and television and movies and all of this stuff, but is it disheartening picking a profession in which, you know, the outside world or flyover states think, oh my God, you must be a rich multimillionaire celebrity writing on this big show. And the reality of that situation is not the case. You get to be creative, but sometimes you and your team are not compensated fairly.
Yeah, it's definitely hard because, you know, like, there are people that, you know, do great, and it's, you know, just like what's happening in America, that, you know, it's the 1%, the 5%, etc. So, you know, it's hard to go out there and be like, the writers need money, and they're like, what? Steven Spielberg looks like he's doing okay. You know? Like, yeah.
I mean, listen, though, on a personal level, though, you know, I know I know you're okay, but does this scare you? I mean, you do have a family. You have a child on the way. And no, I'm not joking, Nick.
I'm not joking. Saying, like, I'm laughing to not go crazy. I wrote an unhinged email to Bob Iger like 45 minutes ago to his General Disney.
Has he responded yet? Has Bob responded?
Not, but I was like,
the head of Disney, like, you guys.
Yeah. And I was like, like, I'm an executive producer at a show, and I've, written the most episodes in the history of the show. And I have to pay like a large mortgage to stay in Los Angeles. And if this lasts a couple of months, I might have to think about, like selling my house. And I'm lucky to live where I am, but I know that the people who work here before me have nice big homes, and they were out less than me. And my pool broke. And I mean, I had to empty it with the buckets because I can't afford to get somebody to empty it, like, for whatever.
You can move into my parents' place. You can move into my parents' place with me, dude. Like, I mean, that I'm sure my mom loves you, so that way I don't know about your family. No,
that'd be great. But I mean, yeah, my mom would love me to come home, but obviously I'm really eyeing your mom's house. That's
guys, real quick though, just a real we know each other's parents, and Nick's mom to this day, or up until a couple years ago, even though Nick was wildly successful in terms of his career, would be like, well, when you're done with this writing thing, you have a place back home.
Oh, she's still that way. She was like, oh my God, I forget. Yeah. I mean, like,
okay.
Bringing up this pool, but like I said something. My mom was like, "You're not doing okay. You're not well. You can't get your pool fixed." And,
what does it mean though, just for people that don't know what it's like to be a part of a union and what it means to strike? What is, you guys are banded together. You told me before that you really believe in your negotiators. You have a very strong team of people arguing for you guys. But what is your responsibility now as a writer, and what are all writers' responsibilities? And then how do we play a part? Because we consume this and we need this. We don't want an interruption in production schedule because we want to consume what you guys are writing.
Well, for us, it's, we're here to prove what an integral part of this process the person that writes it is, that there's nothing else without it. And also for us, we're supposed to walk away, and like there are, some people that are producer writers where they have like producing, but anything that changes story, we're not supposed to touch. And our point is that the story is changing all over the process, that you need a writer in the edit bay, that you need somebody there. On our show, I got to do that. I got to sit in the edit bay for my episodes, but now they're trying to make it so that the writers aren't there and it's just a producer figuring this out. There was a great Twitter thread I saw about when the last strike happened. One of the biggest instances of this was the second Daniel Craig Bond movie. They got like one draft in right before it filmed. And then they're like, okay, we can't send a writer to set. And then like the only people that could write, it changed things, were the director and Daniel Craig. And Daniel Craig's like, I'm not a writer. And then everyone was like, oh, this is starting to make sense. Like by the time they finished filming, the strike ended and they brought the writer in. They're like, can you fix this? And he's like, what did you do? Like, who came up with this?
The whole film is just Daniel Craig running. Just like, I can't even speak lines because they just have me running. Like,
why does he have this cocky accent in this scene? But he's doing a lot of wig work in this one.
I mean, I have a couple questions. Just in terms of, I actually want to get back to what you have to physically do now in terms of strike, but really quickly, because I know we're fans of late night shows and even Saturday Night Live.
Shutting down this time, Ryan. Late night shows.
Yeah, because last time Jay Leno kept going, right?
Yeah, and they were like, we're not going to write, but now they're telling like us writers, they're like, okay, if you're in SAG, you can still act, but if you ad lib or change anything, then that is writing. Like you've changed the story, you've changed the writing, and then everyone's like, well. Wasn't that what like Conan and Jay Leno were doing last time? And they're like, yeah, we're shutting that down. Like this time, like it was like an ambiguity, but now we're being very clear that that is writing, and they've decided to stick with that. So they're going dark as well. I mean, like,
what happens to SNL this week with Pete Davidson? It's the season finale this Saturday.
Oh my God, Ryan, I think it might not happen.
No, Pete Davidson, sketch comedy extraordinaire, he's not going to be able to improv his way.
Mad at Pete Davidson. What am I going to do?
No, it's just one of those curious things. By the way, this would be actually a very powerful statement, though, if Saturday Night Live goes dark, because I think the majority of people don't understand what the Writers Guild is and what they're striking for, and that there is a strike in place. And I think things like that need to happen to just broader awareness.
Yeah. So we're going to go out there on the picket lines. There's some other unions that may or may not be supporting us. Supposedly the Teamsters won't cross a picket line. They're pledge their support. So if they don't go, then you'll have production shutting down in places because no one can turn on the lights and stuff on shoots. And so, I mean, reality could still be made, which is what they, talk about in previous strikes. That strike in 1988 kind of invented reality. During that strike, that's when Cops and America's Most Wanted came out of. And then, they bump it up, but people want, I think, both. They want the reality and the other stuff. And they said that, like, the way that streamers work now, that there's no, like, pilot season. It's just, like, always kind of going and stuff. So it actually could shut things down a little bit quicker if things aren't made. So our goal is to shut off the whole pipeline, to stop writing, to show the importance of writing at every step of the way, editing on set, etc., so that writers are guaranteed to be there in the process for the rest of time, because they're being cut out right now. And then, to get this over as fast as possible. Like, we'd love them to come to us with offers that aren't like bend over and grab your ankles.
That's usually my best offers. Anyways, do you have 5 more minutes, Nick? Do you have,
yeah,
I know I've already gone over. Do you have 5 more minutes?
Yeah.
You've told me about the process just in conversations. I just want to go back to a point you made, that how writing works, and especially on a show like yours, is that there are so many times where the writer continually will throw jokes, change actually the course of the show as the show is, could you walk us through really quick how American Dad is made and how many steps along the way you actively are involved as a writer? Because it's not just in the room, it's throughout the course.
Yeah, it takes a year for it from when you write the writer's draft. And we work in a group of about 5 or 6 in a room. We come up with the episode as a crew, and we kind of write out the beats and everything. We pitch it to our boss. He gives us changes, and then one of us goes out and writes an outline. Say it's my episode. I have 3 days to write an outline. I bring that back in. Our bosses give us notes. Then I go out for 10 days, and I write a script. That gets tabled. We have a table read. After that, we rewrite it based off the table read. Then it goes away for a couple months while the artist, they record all the lines and the artists draw to it. And then we get a black and white version called an animatic. We screen that. We see how it goes. And then we rewrite it as a group. And then it goes back out. It gets sent to be colored. It fills in color. That takes like 7 months. So then we have a color screening. This is like 9 months after it's been written. We all watch that. We have a rewrite in the group in our room. And then it goes out, and then we have a lock that we sit in, and we tighten everything and cut the last of lines. So it's 20 seconds over, figure out what we want. And then that is ready to hit the air. And each of those days we have a screening. One room does a rewrite, and another room is a joke room where we find like 3 or 4 jokes that didn't work. And you spend the day given like 12 options on each of those as a room. So that's, 6, 7, 8, 9 people right there working, on an episode. And then the rest of the crew is still working on future episodes for the table read the next week on this season, because we're working kind of like a season ahead and in the current season. The same.
Does that working a season ahead though, kind of in a way, is that what the AMT or, the people that you're negotiating against? So they're like, well, we're good for the next year in terms of animation because you guys have worked so far ahead.
We set them up pretty nicely. So like animated shows, you won't notice, like, I have 2 coming up this season, and they're going to air in like September and December. So, you won't see a stop of that Christmas episode. Check it out, guys.
Yeah. Yes. And just so you guys know, these are like the top minds in this kind of, like, they're some of the funniest people. So it's not like just going into a room and going, oh yeah, I guess that's kind of funny. Like, you guys beat these jokes out within an inch of their life. And like, you aren't satisfied for just like status quo. I mean, really, like, you guys will obsess about these things. It is a real job, a very intense
when I worked in live action, you would have like jokes set up ahead of time. If the jokes didn't work, you'd have 3 or 4, and then you'd be on set, and then you're like huddled in a corner, and if something doesn't hit, you're like bah, 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 like coming up with lines, so that when they call cut, they're like, yeah, we want to change this one, you have another go at it. It's all throughout the whole time, the writing's going. And that's the same on film too, on sets. Like, man, that'd be a dream. Like, you sell a movie script and then you get to go somewhere and sit on set and like make changes. It's
awesome. Finally, just to close it out here, is some of the specifics that you guys are asking for, you kind of mentioned a little bit briefly, but what are some of those things so people actually know what you're trying to get? Because it's not actually being greedy. Like you said, it's only 1% to 2% of actually the profits that these big corporations are making.
Yeah, we're trying to get, minimums up across the board, and then we're trying to get them to guarantee writers a minimum number of writers on shows. And, we're trying to get minimum of weeks that the writers are guaranteed to work. And, then there's a couple stepped out things, if the show's on for 15 episodes, you need, 8 writers to be there for the, process, and 3 at least through all of editing, and 1 to the end, and those are things that they're just like, no, we don't want any rules on that. They'd like to get it. They're hoping to get it down to as few writers as possible. And those are the main things. I think they said that basically everything that the writers are asking for, that 1 to 2% of profits that we're talking about, is like $420 million, and that they've offered 89 million. So there's like a pretty big gulf there. And I think,
and this isn't just like 89 million for 20 people. This is, there's thousands and thousands of people. 7,000
working people, and a lot of it's residuals that we want. And that's the other thing, we want to be paid residuals like we did on broadcast, but they're saying that streaming doesn't count and they don't have to pay residuals, even though that's where everyone's watching it. So residuals and international, the whole world's watching it. More people are watching it than ever. They're making more money than ever, and we're getting paid less. So that's
finally. Are you allowed to tell us what your captains have told you what the people negotiating for you have told you to expect in terms of length? Is there a chance that this could be over by the weekend, and will you be hitting every day?
They didn't. The way the negotiations go, they didn't want anything out. We didn't know anything. I'm a strike captain. I go to the strike captain meetings, and until I left the meeting on Saturday not knowing if it was going to be a strike or not. I always felt better because I was like, oh, they're all tired and they've been hustling. You can tell they've been up all night and they had to leave. They're like, we have to leave at 11 a.m. to go back to the table. And so I was hopeful, but I had no clue what was going to happen until midnight. We're striking today. We have a huge meeting on Wednesday night at the Shrine Auditorium for all members. I don't know, that's going to be crazy. And they're going to talk, and that's where we're going to talk about demands and stuff. And when these things happen, you don't know. You just don't know. These companies, does Apple care? Are they like, we sell phones, we'll wait 3 years, we're not giving you a dime? Or is it are these companies going to undercut each other? Oh, we can push Universal out, we'll pay you guys more and they can't afford it, so there's a lot of underground gossip and stuff like that goes crazy at this time. But I think it's a thing that if they see what's happening and the world unites behind us and these other guilds unite behind us and everyone says this is the crap that's wrong with this country right now, these corporations are taking this money, and they see the writing on the wall and that there's the support, it could hopefully go shorter. And that's what we're hoping. But they've just been non-existent on trying to have a future that includes a robust writing community and creative community in favor of a corporate culture, a profit. So I hope it's not long and terrible. Yeah.
And that AI thing, just to keep that really, really scares me for so many reasons. How do we support you? You're saying if everybody gets behind you, how do we get behind you? Do we write Bob Iger? Who?
That stuff does help. And yeah, you showing your support and just you having me on and being able to explain this. Cause like you said, you go to a New York Times article and the comments are like, who cares? They should quit writing. The writing stinks. I saw, I only watch Yellowstone. Everything else is crap. So you only need those writers. You're like, thanks, pal. Yeah, I hope your job doesn't, fire everyone too. But yeah, just the public sentiment, the stuff on social media has been great. All that, and as this goes on, SAG has offered their support. They said that we're going to wait, and then they're going to come out at one point, and it's going to get bigger and bigger.
Well, Nic, I've not worked for the last 3 years in film and television just to support you and the Writers Guild.
Preemptively striking. That means a lot.
I've been striking for so long for you guys now, so I'm hoping the drought ends. No, but seriously, you guys, when this comes out, I'm going to make an Instagram post. If you'll share it, that I'll be tagging the WGA and all the appropriate people to be tagging. If you could share that, that would be great. The more we can shed light on this topic, because this truly is, and my show doesn't exist without writers. The things that I truly love in life, barring my family and friends, will not exist without writers. So we need to make sure the overall health of that is very secure, or I'm not going to have a purpose in this world. So, Nic, is there anything else I'm leaving out of this that you would like to share?
I mean, like, I can go just like totally over the edge here and add on to that and say that, for me, television and film was a thing when I was a kid that made me connect to people and different stories that maybe weren't right around me, or made me feel okay about myself and different things. And I think that, music, television, film, these are like the arts that connect all of us. And so that's why I'm fighting, and that's why I'm here, was to be a part of this. So to be pushed out by some of these companies sucks, but that love that you feel in movies and television and stuff will always be there. And we're one of the strongest unions and only unions in the country that exists anymore, because that's what they're trying to break. So I think that we are going to fight to the bitter end for this, because of our love of these things that brought us here. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you could not have said that better. Nic, waiting for Lefty Wegener, thank you so much for being here. And also, just really quick, if she is listening, a very happy birthday to Jessica Wegener, Nic's sister, Juice, who we both love dearly.
We strike for you today.
Yeah, we strike in the name of Jessica Wegener. But Nic, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, man. Longtime fan of the show. I feel like this episode I'm just really going to bring down. I'd love to come back at a fun comedic capacity. I can't believe I'm on the same episode as Captain Glenn. I'm a huge fan. Or am I? Did I lie? Okay.
You are. I mean, listen, no, I mean,
to bunk with him would just be an honor of a lifetime, And
listen, I mentioned when you texted last week about Carl and Lindsay on the show, Nic will act like he sometimes, but Nic actually does, and his wife watches a lot of these shows as well, and I think has given him a deeper appreciation. So we're very, very excited to have him.
And I was a PA at Criminal Minds. Carl was a PA as well.
Wait, was Carl a PA really at Criminal Minds? I didn't.
Yeah, that's how I met him.
Oh, for some reason I thought it was
on the production side, and I worked on the writer side.
Carl Radke, you guys who okay. Anyways, and also if this goes very long, we'll have to have you come on and recap Vanderpump Rules episodes, which I know is your dream, your true dream.
I'm unemployed, baby. I'm unemployed. Let's do this, man. Use me. Oh, I can't write anything though. So
okay, wait, never mind.
For one of the companies, I think this is okay.
Okay, bye, dude.
Don't tell me.